just so you know, I started recording everything,
Mm-hmm.
audio and video. I got to run up front. Bloomington guys are going to stay here for a minute. Then I'll come back, Mirandize you, and we can
do bathroom break.
do a bathroom break.
Come on, Tim. Let's go, boss.
I got one guy that's got to come in here since it's after hours and I'm doing an interview. He'll be here. How long? 2 minutes.
Can I do a bathroom break?
Yes. You gotta go that bad?
I'm being cooperative.
Well, I know. Let's walk him up to the hallway bathroom. All right, come on.
Ain't heat in here.
Any what?
Heat.
Heat.
Heat. It's fucking cold, man. I ain't got no body fat.
It's comfortable in here.
It's cold.
It's also computer controlled. We couldn't turn it up or turn it down. All right.
Hurry up, please. Thank you.
Nothing in a bottle, but it's the best I can do on short notice. Alright, it is 7:12 p.m. December 28, 2012 from Detective Tyler with the Sheriff's Department. Tell me your name.
Kevin Simpson.
And you aware that this conversation is being recorded and monitored?
Yes, I'm pro se and
Okay, hang on. I gotta do my little spiel, then we can get into our business, okay?
I understand.
You aware that this conversation is being recorded and monitored?
I encourage such.
I was gonna say, you even specifically asked to be recorded, audio and video.
Absolutely.
Okay. You're in custody. You're not free to go, so I'm gonna let you know what your rights are. Have you had your rights read to you before?
I've been falsely arrested 3 times.
Have you had your rights read to you before?
Each time I was falsely arrested, they read me my rights.
How many times was that?
3 times.
Okay. Did you understand when they read them to you?
I understood I was a false arrest, so I agree with the terms of the false arrest and don't argue with the false arrest and let it happen, and then I work hard to clear that arrest.
Did you understand your Miranda rights?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to tell them to you again that you have a right to remain silent. If you give up that right to remain silent, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
I am
You have the right to
curious.
speak with an
I am
attorney.
curious. I have a question. Why does everybody encourage my silence when I'm not in custody, but you're willing to talk to me once I'm in
Okay,
custody?
here's the deal. I'm not going to answer any of your questions or ask you any questions until I'm done letting you know
Okay,
what your rights
fair
are,
enough.
and then you either tell me yay or nay.
Fair enough.
Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Okay, let's start over. You have
Yes,
the right to remain silent. If you give up that right to remain silent, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to speak with an attorney and have that attorney present when you're being questioned. And if you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed for free. Do you understand all those rights?
Yes.
Do you have any questions on any of those rights?
No.
Okay. Do you want to talk to me about your new pending charges?
I don't even know what they are.
So then you probably want to talk to me about them.
That's you talking to me. I can't talk to you about what I don't know about.
You're being charged with, I believe, 4 counts of intimidation and a couple counts of telephone harassment.
Okay.
That's the charges. Your bond's $75,000. So you'll need to post $7,500 and whatever that bond fee is, 25 or 30 bucks.
Can you go through the charges one by one so that I can understand what I'm accused of doing?
It's 4 counts of intimidation. All I have is an arrest warrant that
Well,
lays
but-
out counts 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay. Does it name victims?
Arrest warrants don't name victims. But here's the deal. We both know since about the 10th of December, you've been rattling some cages upstairs, leaving some voicemail messages, getting kind of angry in those voicemail messages.
Who says it's angry?
Pretty much anybody that listens to them can tell that you're angry.
Frustrated? Dealing with things, channeling that frustration into federal court and showing that I'm not going to allow laws to be broken.
Okay. You represent yourself when you go to court.
Yes.
So you're acting as an attorney.
Yes.
Do you think that since you're pro se and you're acting as an attorney, you should probably follow the same rules as a regular attorney should?
It would be nice if the people that were
Question, answer. Do you think that you should have to follow the same rules that a regular attorney would have to follow?
in a perfect world, yes.
There ain't such thing as a perfect world. But
I
I'm
know,
asking you.
because in McLean County, it doesn't happen that way.
Well, it's not McLean County, it's Kevin Simpson.
Okay.
If you're, I'm trying
yeah,
to explain
yeah.
things to you. If you're acting as an attorney in a professional capacity, don't you think that you should have to abide by the same rules and regulations and I don't even know, common courtesies as?
In a general sense, yes, but I haven't been through the bar, so I'm in a unique position of being a father pro se. But what we have, sir, is a situation where other people, attorneys, judges, prosecutors, cops, because they have a professional demeanor in court, somehow their perjury, their lies, their bullshit is excused. Jane Foster.
Okay, time out. we're not here to hash ancient history, because you know what?
You
were
posed
found
a question
you were
about
found-
professionalism of
Yeah,
attorneys,
and I'm talking
trying
about the scope of this from December 10th through today is what we're going to cover, Kevin. I'm not going to go back to your battles with Jane Foster and Yoder and all those folks, because you took that to court and won. Ancient history.
Okay, but then let's change the topic, because you brought up the subject of professionalism of attorneys,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a proven history that it's not extended in my direction, so that's the best I can answer that question.
But do you think calling judges, leaving messages for them, whether it's frustration, anger, you're just mad as hell about something, do you think...
You're putting words into a situation.
Kevin, I've listened to all of those voicemails.
And you have a reason to be subjective.
Anybody that listens to those voicemails, I mean, you're cursing at the judges.
Are you aware that I had a run-in with Matt Lane in Judge Costigan's courtroom yesterday? Yeah. And
okay, let me
I handled
ask him.
it completely professionally.
No.
And he stood right over the top of me, and I had to ask him to move 3 times.
Matt Lane asked you, did you have some paperwork for Judge Costigan?
Yes.
That's why you were in court yesterday.
Yes.
What papers did you have for Judge Costigan? Because I don't know.
I had a copy of a motion for an injunction. I spent my Christmas devoted to going to federal court and putting in a motion for temporary restraining order.
Why did you feel the need to go to Judge Costigan's courtroom and sit in the gallery? Just because you can't approach him. You can't go up to the bench. You cross that gate and you don't have business up there.
I didn't cross the gate.
I said, if you cross that gate...
I did not cross the gate.
Then why were you there?
I sat down in the front row.
Why were you there?
I was peaceful, I was quiet, and I was
Why?
not bothering anybody.
Why were you there?
You already asked the question, I already answered it. To give him some paperwork.
You can't give him paperwork.
I can give it to his secretary. She eventually took it, and I had no problem with that. I left the courtroom.
You were being difficult with Sergeant Lane. He asked, he's like, did he ask you for the paperwork? And he said he would give it to the judge?
Can I explain to you exactly what happened?
Did
Sergeant? Can I explain? No, he didn't ask me for the paperwork. He asked me if I needed his help. He didn't ask me for any paperwork.
That sounds terrible.
Huh?
That sounds terrible. If Sergeant Lane asked you if he could help you?
Yes.
Okay, and you could have said, yes, can you give this to Judge Costigan?
Are you going to let me explain? I was a witness. Do you want to know my explanation?
Shoot.
Okay. I walked into the courthouse perfectly happy, feeling very good about the fact that I just trumped a McLean County judge who made a completely improper ruling, and I did it legally, ethically, and morally. Now, I came to the courthouse and I put that on file. I notified judges because the nature of a temporary restraining order is to stop an action. Judge Costigan ignored 7 hours of testimony, hundreds of pages of internal documents. Excuse me, I'm thirsty. And chances are, if he ignored this restraining order, continued irreparable harm would be done.
Do you have an active restraining order against him now? Do you have something signed off on from a federal court judge?
No, it's a motion for it. I entered it, I file stamped it, it's in federal court. I'm waiting for a judge to look at it.
Then why go rub his nose in it?
I didn't try to rub his nose in it.
You were there. You could have mailed it to him.
You're misinterpreting. You're trying to guide me down a path that you guys think I was on.
I know what you were there.
You know, I still haven't even explained my story, and you
Kevin,
know.
Do you know how many times you've been in the building? How many times you've posted stuff around the building? How many times you've accused deputies of doing this and that around the building? The purpose of you being in Judge Costigan's courtroom that day was just to be a pain in his butt.
Absolutely not.
Yes, it was. You could have mailed. First of all, the piece of paper you have is worth that. The piece of paper. It's not signed. It's not a court order. It's not anything other than something that you typed up and
We're on
printed
tape.
off.
Before you go telling me everything I did wrong and my intent, can we just let me put my story on, and then you can second guess it all you want? But I haven't even got into the story beyond walking into the courtroom, and you're already explaining all kinds of things about what I did and my intent.
I read that report.
What report?
We wrote a report on what you did yesterday in the courtroom.
And it was very one-sided, I'm sure.
Well,
there was also a witness.
What-
Did anybody mention that there was a witness in the courtroom?
What was your response to Matt Lane? What did you tell him?
Can I back up to where I walked into the courtroom?
No, what did you say to Matt Lane?
Yes.
Okay.
I have to explain that Matt Lane was speaking to me first.
We've already covered that. He asked you if he could help you.
I would like to go verbatim through the entire thing so that you understand. Before you start cutting me off and before you start misinterpreting things that I did. We're on tape. I volunteered to come in here and speak to you. I do not agree with being told that I did something wrong without you even asking and letting me finish.
Okay.
Do we want to do it?
We can do that. We're not going to go back and cover
No,
ancient history.
I'm starting.
December 10th.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I believe, the first voicemail that you left up on one of the judge's secretaries.
Can you be specific?
December 10th.
Judge Rob?
I believe it was Judge Rob's secretary.
When I was trying to legally, ethically, and morally get Judge Costigan to give me a motion for a recusal hearing because of his involvement with Sheriff Emery and the police chief. Yeah, it's all on file. The evidence is all on file in McLean County, and he ignored it.
What evidence?
Of everything from your involvement in February 23rd for Tim Stinessen, my family court hearing.
I was hoping you would go there.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, pretty much everything. I have a stack of documents.
But that's all stuff that you produce.
No, it's Bloomington
Why
police
are
documents.
you calling the judges and being nasty, being argumentative? You're angry on the phone. You're threatening that you're going to sit outside their courtrooms if they don't call you back. Do you think that is a professional thing to do?
Well, you're once again, you're enumerating.
I'm repeating what you said.
No, there was one call, and as a newspaper reporter experienced, it's an old tactic, and if you don't get callbacks, you eventually just wait for somebody. I'm in a courthouse. I don't have any weapons. You guys follow me every time I come in here. I'm simply trying to get an answer from a judge who is refusing to give me an answer so that Judge Costigan can bypass my federal lawsuit. I'm just simply trying
Can you see how somebody on the other end of that could perceive that as a threat?
Yeah, if I'm cracking into the inner workings of the judges. Just yesterday I got a good email from Rick Bleichner, and it shows all about Sheriff Emery's influence, and it's all good.
But can you see how the judges could perceive it as a threat when you call them up?
If they have a history of working with the police department and Sheriff Emery, yeah, it's a very easy interpretation. When you have a motive, sir, like the fact that I have him in federal court, that's not a motive when it comes to Kevin Simpson. 3 arrests in 4 years and no convictions. What I'm asking you
is, can you put yourself in their shoes? And
can I go back and finish walking into Judge Costigan's courtroom?
No, because we're not going to see eye to eye on that, and you're not charged with anything there.
What am I charged with then?
You're charged
not
with
telling
intimidating the judges here in McLean County.
Well, you're accusing me of doing something walking into his courtroom, and you're wrong. And you're not allowing me to explain it.
You didn't get charged with going into Judge Costigan's courtroom.
Well, then explain to me what I did so I can explain it.
I don't even know how many times have you called Judge Rob?
Her secretary?
And
her secretary?
You've made it back to her desk.
Yes.
You left. How did you get her number?
I'm a police reporter. I'm an investigative journalist. It's not that hard.
How'd you get it?
You dial numbers.
So you just took wild shots till you got her number?
Maybe.
Can you see how that could have crossed the line?
Nobody mentioned it at the time as crossing the line, otherwise it wouldn't have happened
I think
the second
sitting there in handcuffs with a $75,000 bond is a pretty good idea. That's crossing the line, Kevin.
Yeah, it shows that if you take your case to federal court and you start showing that the sheriff absolutely fucked with every criminal case and civil case that you have in McLean County, this is ultimately what will happen.
No, because we can't put those handcuffs on you. We can't have a judge
Unless
sign
you-
a warrant on
Unless
you.
you subjectively interpret. You know, let's ignore everything that Kevin's done positive for the last 2 years.
What have you done that's been positive for the last 2 years?
Kick the shit out of a bunch of liars.
Well, that's positive in your world.
Yeah, it is, because I'm in federal court.
I don't care about your federal court stuff. We're not
Well,
going to talk
you
about
just
your
asked me a
federal
fucking
court
question,
stuff.
dude.
How did you get Judge Rob's desk number?
I just told you.
So you just took Wild Shots and you started dialing.
It's an educated guess.
Do you think that crossed the line? Do you think any other attorney in McLean County would bypass the secretary and go right to the judge? Even if they're not getting their way in court, they are not going to cross that line.
It has
piss off
nothing
the
to
judge.
do. It has nothing to do with getting my way in court.
That's what you want, though. You want
No,
them to do
Judge
things,
Rob is not my immediate judge.
but you're going to Judge Rob to try and get her to do something with, I don't even know what, with Costigan and what he's been doing and stuff that Stroh's done, which I have no clue. You're trying to trying to be a pain and get your way by being nasty to him.
No. Judge Rob was deeply involved with the sheriff and the communications, and she knew a lot of what was going on last year. And once again, I got singled out. I got treated special. For some reason, like you try to paint the picture that Kevin gets treated like everybody else.
Kevin doesn't get treated like everybody else.
Absolutely
because
not.
Kevin doesn't act like everybody else. You don't, Kevin.
I don't get treated. See, this is the argument
If
that,
you treat-
that
if
Sergeant
you-
Lane came first. Which came first, Kevin's behavior or the harassment? Which came first? Oh,
The
come
fact
on
that
now.
you were there was a problem. You're there to give a worthless piece of paper to
Oh.
Kevin, it's not a signed court order. I mean, I can go back here and type up an arrest warrant for Kevin Simpson. It don't mean anything. Just like your piece of paper don't mean anything until a judge signs off on it. Am I right or am I wrong?
I didn't say it was a restraining order. I said it was a motion for a restraining order that was filed in federal
But
court.
the purpose of you being in the courtroom and trying to give it to the judge was to influence, intimidate, or just be a general pain in his ass.
Nope. It shows that no matter how bad he dogs me and ignores the law on his end, I'm going to handle my business ethically, legally, and morally.
You're not handling your business ethically. Calling judges, leaving messages, cursing at them on the phone, stating that you're going to sit outside their office until you get your way.
There
is
you
not
go
being,
with they again. You're taking a
Okay,
one
Judge-
reference.
Well, you showed up in Costigan's courtroom.
That's nothing to do with the call that you're just
You had no
referring
business
to.
in his courtroom that day, did you?
Huh?
You had no business. You
I
had
just
no hearing.
explained my business.
No, that's your business that you have in your head.
You just explained my business. In my head, I had a U.S. seal on a document.
You had some shit that you typed up. That's what you had. That's what it was,
So
right?
I'm a joke over in federal court?
I don't know. I don't go to federal court and
Do you want to know the affidavit that I signed with it as a sworn statement that goes into federal court? Yeah, you know what, Tim? For everybody that underestimates me and tries to make me look like a jackass or stupid or don't know what I'm fucking doing, I proudly come back and remind them someday, just like I reminded you the day you fucked with me in my courtroom.
well, you're 100% wrong on that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
You have no idea why I was up there.
Yeah, I do.
No, you don't, Kevin.
I had
See,
2 different deputies tell me why you were up there.
You have no clue what I do on a daily basis. None. I can be anywhere in this building that I want.
I'm sure you can, and
Yeah.
you chose to be in my hearing on a day that Tim Stanessa needed a little elbow grease, didn't you?
Yeah. Why do you try and intimidate the judges with the voicemails and
There
showing
was
up?
no attempt to intimidate. I have judges that are working with the police. I have judges that are not bound by ethics and morals that are making decisions. I'm simply showing them that I'm a father that is going to continue to dig out the emails that Bloomington Police Department and your sheriff have hidden from me, to show how much impact there was and influence there was in the fact that I have not gotten fair hearings because of it.
Could it be the way that you act in these hearings?
That's an easy out. Just like you're sitting here, you're going to ignore the fact that I've put 2 years worth of effort into. It started out as ex-wife misconduct, then it went into police misconduct, and then went into sheriff's department harassment misconduct, and then it went into prosecutorial conduct. Is it any wonder that we jumped up and had to cover some asses at a judicial level?
Do you think you can call and leave those kind of messages and not think that you're crossing the line?
What line? Ethical?
Ethical,
Okay,
professional.
I'm guilty of pushing an ethical boundary.
I think you crossed that ethical boundary.
Okay. So
I
what the fuck is this about?
I don't think that there is
This is
another,
about
there
the
is
fact
another,
that I have an email on my computer at home, and I sent out 3 subpoena deuce tukums just today. And Rick Bleister knows that I have the information that I've been looking for that'll show that Judge Costigan had no legal basis to be on my family case. I've been working on the truth from day one, sir.
but you're not going about it the way that attorney would. And don't sit there and tell. I know you're not an
ethical.
attorney.
Okay,
It's
so
not. It's not ethical. We kind of agreed that you've pushed that ethical boundary, crossed that ethical boundary. Is that fair to say?
In context,
In context of the phone
that I'm
calls.
not being treated fairly, I push the bounds back a little bit occasionally. Yes, I do.
Okay.
In an overall picture, I absolutely handle my business. Over in federal court, there aren't the same issues that I get in McLean County. There aren't the influence from the judges talking to each other. I don't have judges showing up in my sentence or my jury verdicts. I don't have judges talking to cops that falsely arrest me 3 weeks later. I mean, there's just a lot of bullshit that Kevin Simpson gets that is not the not the objectivity that you want to represent.
Did you? And this, I'm just asking because I'm not sure. Did you serve one of the judge's process papers at his house?
Process papers.
Like legal, like subpoenas or motions or whatever?
Is that something I'm charged with?
No, I'm just curious.
Tell me what you know.
I heard that you like jumped out of the bushes at Judge Yoder's house.
Fucking retarded. Fucking retarded. But you know what? That shows that the judges talk. Because you're not the first.
I don't
Let
talk
me
to
finish.
the judges that
Let
way.
me finish.
I have more respect for the judges. I mean, I am as...
Jumped out of the fucking bushes. That's...
Was you there?
Did he file? Yeah, I was there, but not in the bushes. Did he file a police report for this crazy incident?
Well, you would know that, the way you FOIA everything.
Well, yeah, I would. And no, there was no police report because
Okay.
there was nothing fucking jumping out of the bushes.
Can you
That
think-
is a perfect example of why
it's a
I'm
perfect,
here,
It's
sir.
a perfect
That is
example
beautiful
of you,
example
It's a perfect
of how the
example
fucking
of
police
how
and
you
judges
go
and
to a judge's
prosecutors
house
will go to an
to
extreme
serve him a process paper
to show
just
that
to
I'm
know-
fucking legal and ethical and moral after he called me
Do you
the
think
dirtbag
Hal
of the
Jennings has ever
universe.
served a judge at his house? Do you think any of these other attorneys that's been around here forever?
I don't know.
Do you think that's the right thing to do, to go to their house and serve them with paper?
Right? What? Legally? Ethically?
Well, I don't think legally it's. I'm not sure. I don't serve process papers,
then-
but I don't think you.
Then
being-
ask educated questions, please.
Was you at his house? Did you go to Yoder's house to serve him that paper?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you been to any other judges' houses?
No.
None.
Never.
What was the purpose of your calls?
Well, let's
To the judges.
continue. Boy, you think
I'm
I've
just
been...
asking.
Well, see, that's just it.
Kevin, we don't know. We don't know what you're capable of doing.
Oh, capable of doing. Going all the way to federal court and
Well,
defending
how about
myself?
this? I walk into the lobby up there, and you like snapped on me like I was coming at you with a stick.
Yeah, because there's a lot of payback. Dude, I'm an expert at being retaliated against, let me tell you.
And 30 seconds later, you're fine. I'll talk to you, but it's got to be recorded. It's being recorded right now.
Absolutely.
This is business.
Yeah, it is.
It's a Friday night. I'm going to be sitting at home
and your
watching
business
TV.
is, you jumped out of the bushes. There's absolutely
it's a-
asinine.
It's a story I
Tim,
heard.
don't insult. Exactly.
It is a story I heard.
Exactly, and it's evidence of how judges talk in McLean County. You're not the first sheriff's person who will tell me about what happened with Yoder.
Well, see, you know what? Don't you think that was an issue if a story like that gets around?
It's pretty much an example of how judges don't follow their ethical, moral boundaries.
You don't follow any ethical or moral
I'm not
boundaries.
a judge.
You're acting as an attorney.
I'm also a father who's watching people break the law and get away with it.
So is it okay for you to break the law?
I haven't broken any laws. I've been accused of a lot, including jumping out of bushes, but I haven't done it.
But you was there
I
So-
was where?
at Yoder's house.
Yeah, but
Okay.
not in the bushes. That's fucking retarded.
Dude, I'm just telling you what I heard.
And that's a pretty goddamn good example of why I'm writing a book and how far things get out of control. That's
know how it is?
asinine.
You
Yeah, I know
you
how
start
it
that
is.
little story in a circle when
I
you was
know
a kid,
how it is.
and
Yes.
by the time it starts here and ends here, it ain't even the same.
Bloomington Police Department fucked me forever with all those rumors and stories and innuendos. Mark Ashmore made up a story about how I interfered with the traffic stop. I've got an email from the Normal Police Department saying I walked up on it was a traffic accident. The Normal Police Department has it in their internal communications that I walked up on a traffic stop. You know, that's how far things get out of control. You want to look at my stories and my evidence and see if I've matched a story that I told 2.5 years ago? I tell the truth. And it's only the evil stories and all the bullshit. That's what influenced my judges last year. You want me to tell you what Paul Williams' email said today? And that it went to the judges? If I would have had time, I would have brought it with me. I think it's very relevant to this case.
Probably didn't plan on getting arrested today, did you?
No. Because despite what you're claiming, there was nothing heinous with anything I did. And you don't want to get me on tape to explain what happened to Matt Lane, simply because you don't want the other side of the story.
Tell me a story.
Okay.
I'll let you go beginning to end.
Thank you very much. I walked into the courtroom. I think the judge's secretary is Cheryl. I sat down in the front row, never tried to go across any lines, never tried to go anywhere other than sitting peacefully in the front row. I walked by, I think Joe Zoller in walking in. I know you guys know I'm there. There's nothing secretive, there's nothing hidden. And Cheryl was there, and I said, can you let Judge Costigan know that I've got a copy of a motion for a restraining order that I filed in federal court today? And instead of coming out and simply saying, can you give it to me, or he's not coming out, whatever, that's when Mr. Lane came out. And as you know, if you sit in the front row, there's that partition. And that's when Matt Lane decided to not just stand there, but to physically lean over the top of me. And he asked me once, he said, is there something I can help you with, Mr. Simpson? And no, there wasn't, so I didn't respond. And he asked me again, is there something I can help you with, Mr. Simpson? I said, yes, you could stop leaning over me. I'm here doing my job. I said, well, do your job a few feet back so that you're not leaning over me. And I continued to ask nicely, and I continued to ask professionally. And he continued to try and intimidate me out of that courtroom. Now from there, it was quite clear that he wasn't asking me anything specific. He was just asking me if I could help him. He didn't ask for any paperwork. He didn't know why I was fucking there, because I didn't tell him. It wasn't his fucking business. As far as I'm concerned, it's another deputy, just like Joe Zoller walked Nancy Miller all the way on Alfred County property just to make things look good for everybody. It's just bullshit. So let me reiterate, there was a witness, a civilian witness that was witness to all this. would be your objective third-party witness if he's not intimidated by cops. Some people are. So after repeatedly asking Mr. Lane to back up and to give me room, he finally walked away and sat down. And then Cheryl came out and walked over to him, and they whispered, and I could tell they were referring to me. And Matt said something to the effect I could hear enough to understand. He said, "No, he didn't give me the papers." And that's when I told Cheryl, "I will give you the papers, Cheryl. I'm just not going to give them to Matt." I said, "I'm not going to allow him to walk in here and hover over the top of me and try to intimidate me and do this continuum of bullshit." I said, "Here's the papers." There was nothing heinous. There was nothing evil. I didn't demand to see the judge. I simply offered the papers. When he expressed, obviously through a deputy, that he didn't want them, I gave them to Cheryl. And I left after having a few words with Matt Lane, which probably tempers quite a bit about whatever he has in a police report. But I'll take a polygraph, as I will through 2.5 years of this bullshit. And I'll swear to every word that I just said, and I'll take a polygraph to it. And if you have one tonight, I would be happy to polygraph. Not gonna happen, is it?
We don't have a polygraph examiner or machine.
Well,
we farm it out.
Just know that I will go to any extreme at all to back up everything I say.
That's the problem. We don't know what your extremes are, Kevin.
My extremes are federal court. I think I've shown
Well,
it. Didn't you guys have emails? Weren't you guys stalking me in the courthouse? We've been through this. I got accused of all kinds of bullshit last year, and it all came from the Bloomington Police Department and Lieutenant Stanessa and McKinley, and all this shit's on file in every fucking courtroom I've been in this courthouse. The internal communications, emails, I've got your emails, I've got emails from the sheriff. Yeah, he had me harassed in this courthouse ad infinitum last year, and then went behind my back. Well, I say it's behind my back. It's just a power move, but then recommended me for a mental exam. That's classy. But none of that has any factor on any of my courtroom behavior, does it?
let me ask you this. If Matt Lane asks you, "Mr. Simpson, is there something I can do for you, or something can I help you?" And you've been, "Can you give this to Judge Costigan?" Matt Lane would have took that and give it to Judge Costigan, and you could have walked out the door, and there would have been no drama, no police report.
What drama? There was no drama besides the fact
There's
that
a police report, Kevin. There was drama up there.
Between me and Matt Lane, it had nothing to do with Judge Costigan.
It didn't need to be.
Exactly. And I asked your man 3 times, "Please do not stand over me."
Well, Kevin,
And
you
this
understand?
is the bullshit.
But
That
here's the
is
thing.
the drama. I
He
wasn't
wouldn't
doing
have had to
anything
been
wrong.
standing over you. You wouldn't have had to tell him 3 times if you would have just give him the paper.
He didn't ask for the paper.
He
He
asked
asked
you-
me if I needed his help.
And you said no. But you were there.
No, I didn't answer his question.
You told him, "Get off me," or "Quit hovering over me," whatever it was.
Yeah, please do not stand over the top of
But
me.
if you would have simply gave him that paper, do you think he wouldn't have taken it to the judge?
And because I didn't give him that piece of paper, we have a
But-
police report. Oh my God, go figure, Kevin. You should have kissed Matt Lane's ass and you wouldn't be here getting
you
complained
should have
about.
done the ethical, professional thing that you claim to be. Give him the paper, let him take it back to the
Is this
judge.
about legality or ethics and morality?
No, that's about a crime.
Okay. Well, when are we going to get to that?
You wanted to talk about Matt stuff.
Yeah,
Let's
well,
get Matt stuff hashed out and be
absolutely.
done with it.
Absolutely.
If you would have
I walked out of that courtroom and I told Matt Lane I was going to include him in this federal lawsuit.
Now, why do you do stuff like that?
Because Matt Lane tried to intimidate me, and Matt Lane is the one that puts Joe Zoller and such and all these hearings. Anytime there's a deputy that wants to make a personal issue with Kevin Simpson, it's guaranteed that he's going to be in the next fucking hearing. just like Joe Zoller.
Do you understand there's only like 4 deputies that work up there besides Matt?
Yeah, I understand.
So it's not like there's a whole
But
big
I've
pool.
also had Matt tell me that he stationed Van Dawson at the front desk,
But
waiting for me to come to the courthouse.
You should understand intimidation, because you just tried to intimidate Matt Lane by saying that you're going to sue him.
I'm standing up for my rights because he's goddamn intimidating me.
He asked, we play tape back, he asked you, and I politely and quietly.
Can I stand over you the way he was standing over me?
You stay in the chair.
Yeah. You want to negate the fact that he was playing his little power trip.
I don't know
all
how,
I did was ignore him and ask him to walk away because I felt intimidated. And I felt threatened by a deputy.
You can't tell Matt Lane to leave the courtroom. I don't know
I
who
didn't
you
tell
think.
him to leave the courtroom. I told him to walk away from me.
If you would have given him the paper, we wouldn't be talking about this.
You just made something up. Is Matt Lane saying I claimed to tell him to leave the courtroom?
No.
Well, then why did you make that statement?
Because you've tried to kick Zoller out of, was it Judge Stroh's courtroom?
I asked the judge.
Was it Stroh's? I'm asking you because I don't know. Didn't you throw a fit in one courtroom that you wouldn't be?
Fit?
Didn't you ask for, you wouldn't be in the same courtroom as Deputy Zoller at one of your hearings?
Are we done with Matt Lane?
I think we're done with Matt Lane.
Yeah, can I explain the Joe Zoller thing?
You can answer my question.
Well, that's avoiding context. Come on, dude.
Quickly.
It's not a quick issue. Why don't you ask your questions and then we'll go from there.
It's real simple. Was it, I don't know if it was in front of Stroh or Costigan or who it was, Deputy Zoller was assigned to that courtroom.
Conveniently.
Kevin, there's only 4 or 5 guys total up there.
Okay.
So it's not like there's a whole big pool of 20 different deputies that can be up there. That just is how it is. You know, you've got issues with Zoller, you've got issues with Van Dawson, so you're running out of people that can be in the courtroom with you that you don't have a problem.
I've got issues with them, or they are mutual issues.
Well, whatever they are, it's an issue.
Whatever they are.
But what do you think Zoller's going to do in the courtroom? Do you think he's going to do something dumb in there? I mean,
he did something dumb as soon as the hearing was over. And those, as a pro se, I just want the right to be able to walk into a hearing without wondering why this deputy who just told me 3 weeks earlier that he has a personal issue with me is now conveniently in this very important hearing.
Maybe because he's a deputy and he was told by his sergeant to be there.
Exactly.
Because
back to Matt Lane. Because Matt Lane knows that he's got an issue with me. Yep, you're assigned to him.
But do you think
that's
Matt
the way
Lane,
it works?
No, because Matt Lane he's not going to assign Zoller to a courtroom with you in it just to mess with you.
Bullshit.
That's in your head, dude.
Dude, he fucking told me downstairs last year that he assigned Van Dawson to wait for me at that front door. I've had conversations with people when they think that they can get away with shit,
but you
and
can't
they're very
call
honest.
The shots. You don't make up the rules in the courthouse or the courtroom.
I didn't say I did.
That's why you left the courtroom that day?
No.
Because Joe was
Would
in
you
there?
like me to explain?
That's what we're trying to do here.
All right. Well, back when the Van Dawson claimed that I flipped him off in the lobby, there was a whole situation where he pulled what I call a cliff rushing. I didn't look at him, I didn't speak to him, but as soon as I walked past him, he did a little snicker job, and another deputy caught his attention and looked at me. The whole grade school bullshit. The stuff I've dealt with from fucking 8 years as a police reporter in this courthouse, and I've seen it and I've dealt with it, and it's a joke, and it shouldn't happen. So after that whole thing happened, Joe escorted me out of the courthouse and wrote a police report where he said some things that weren't accurate. And the next thing I saw Joe, he was pretty upset with me. He was visibly upset because we'd known each other for a long time. And we've always kind of maintained, you're doing your job, I'm doing my job. As long as we're professional, there's no issues. Well, Joe let it be known something I wrote on Facebook, he took it to be that I called him a liar. And I explained to him, well, Joe, I ain't called you a liar ever. And why don't you stand here, we're standing here, why don't you talk to me what's going on? Why don't you go look on Facebook about it? Well, why is a deputy in a courthouse looking at my Facebook page? I don't know. but Joe's not going to talk about it. But obviously, he just told me he's got an issue. I don't know if it's a big issue. I don't know if it's a little issue, but there's this whole fucking history of shit going on in the courthouse. And I know from experience, because Joe Zoller is the one that's got this issue with me, he is guaranteed to be at my next hearing. You can call me full of shit if you want to, but it's a proven trend. So naturally, when Joe's in the hearing, all I did was walk in the court hearing. And granted, I've talked to Joe in and out of court hearings before, but apparently this one was, I don't know, unannounced or unappreciated. But I just simply asked Joe, "What are you doing in here, Joe?" And he just kind of looked at me with a blank look, and that's when Judge Stroh said, "Mr. Simpson, you can address the court." And I said, "Your Honor, why is Joe Zoller in here?" And I explained that there was a history of about a year and a half of harassment, and that Joe was the most recent deputy that personally told me that I got a personal issue with you. And because I'm pro se and because I have to represent myself in court, it's not fair for me to have those types of distractions. Now, Judge Stroh took Joe's side pretty much. And so I left the hearing. I said, you can have your decision, but I'm not going to be in this hearing today with Joe Zoller. And so I left. Now here's exactly why I didn't want Joe Zoller in that hearing. I was here in court that day for an order of protection against Nancy Miller for custody interference, false child abuse allegations, all the stuff that I've got in all my lawsuits. I've got the internal communications of BPD, I've got emails, fucking everything. So, grab a drink. I've got the case to prove that Nancy Miller has interfered with my custody. Obviously, I'm doing things legally that day because I've summoned Nancy Miller to a secure courthouse where there's no weapons on me. It's as safe as it can possibly be. How much better can I do? Well, the big picture between Nancy Miller and I is that she lives 5 blocks from me, and for the 2 years that she had that order of protection against me, the false one, I didn't go near her.
Who's Nancy Miller?
My estranged mother, my ex-wife's daughter number 2. So, I know factually.
Mother-in-law?
No, mother.
Nancy Miller is your mom?
Estranged Miller, yes. It's all fucked up. I got factually on my side, haven't been near her for 2 years. She came to visit me in the jail and I threw her ass out, and I got a no visit contact. And then she gave me some money after I got out of jail. I need to get on my feet, and then I told her to stay away from me. And then she comes back into back into court and asking for an extension on an order of protection. The whole thing's fucking goofy, stupid. But she lives 5 blocks from me, and I don't bother her for 2 years, but the day that I call her legally to court and walk into court and don't even look at her, don't even speak to her, but I call Joe out for being in my courtroom, and I announce publicly why I have an issue with it and why I should be suspect. And then I walked out of the courtroom early.
Time out. Were you fighting so you don't have the OP against her, or were you trying to flip the script and get an OP against her?
I have 2 things. I'm trying to reverse the original order of protection, and the custody interference is another thing entirely.
Okay. So you were just there to try and make the OP go away.
No. I was there seeking an order of protection that day.
Against her?
For custody interference and harassment.
And she has order of protection against you?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
You kind of drove me off into the ditch there.
No, I got you. So basically, the big picture is I'm not a threat to Nancy Miller. Never have been. It's all fucking in the past. All there is a piece of paper. Like you say, a worthless piece of paper.
No, that's the real piece of paper because the judge signed it.
If it's fraudulently obtained,
It still got a judge's signature on it.
Yeah, unfortunately. It's got Judge Costigan's signature on it, by the way.
Last time I checked, he's still a judge.
Yeah, perjury. So anyway, at that point, I went downstairs. I talked to, I never can remember his name. I talked to one of the deputies. We were sitting right in the middle of the lobby. It's on videotape. I was not heinous. I was not angry. I was not evil. I was trying to get to Lieutenant Wick to talk to him about this harassment, this proper stationing. So I was in the courthouse for another 3 to 5 minutes after I left the courtroom, but trying to do things proper. Who'd think that I would be, able to do that? But anyway, I left the courthouse 3 to 5 minutes later, walked up the stairs on the front street, and there's Joe Zoller, off of county property, standing next to Nancy Miller, waiting for me to leave the courthouse. It's one of those oddities, just like you being in my courtroom on that unique day.
Like,
Joe...
You mean the day I did the search warrant return in front of Judge Costigan, but we'll go on past that.
Judge Costigan wasn't in the courtroom that day.
He was in back.
He was in back, yeah. You
I've never understood why you had a hard on for me. I'd never understood that, because I was there that day doing a search warrant return of Kevin.
You weren't up there to see Tim Stanessa, huh?
I know Tim Stanessa. I know Bob Wall.